You're listening to Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. Small town feel with big time ideas. After all, you are entitled to Brad's opinion. Here's your host, Brad Allard.
Well, welcome to the last show of the year. It's been an interesting year, personally and for the country as a whole. Lots of stuff going on. For me personally, most of y'all know that my father passed. We've had some health issues and extended family, on and on and on, but hopefully 2026 will be better. You can always hope, and I have right here the solid gold predictions of what's going to happen. You can bet the mortgage on it if you want to live on the streets, because I'm very bad at this. And, plus you never know what's going to happen, right? And Josh is going to jump in and give us his 2 cents occasionally, I hope.
We'll see.
How was your Christmas? Was it all right?
It was pretty good, yeah.
Good enough?
Good enough.
Yeah, my mom was ill, and so we didn't really get into a big to-do about Christmas. And we're not really that way anyway, because it's not that we're, slackers or whatever. It comes to the Christmas season. I know some people, they spend all this time on Christmas. I'm going to sit there and get ready to share all this with the various groups. But the point is that our family kind of like just get together. We'll have a meal, whatever else. But we're not going to go crazy about it because it's just not as big a deal as it is for some people. Some people, boy, Christmas, they go all out. They get all this stuff out. They get the decorations and whatnot. And Robin will decorate the house, but it's not extravagant. How about you? You're into your family into that?
They are, yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
No, it's fine. My family does like getting gifts for each other.
Yeah.
We definitely decorate. My older sister has 4 boys, so they're kind of the main focus of Christmas.
Yeah, I bet so.
I do enjoy spending time with my family and sisters and stuff like that.
Well, see, we don't have any young children in our family. Neither one of my kids have kids. I have no grandchildren. I don't have any younger nephews or nieces on this side of the family. Now, in a couple of days, I'm going to Oklahoma, and there's some younger kids in that part of the family, but I don't have... we don't have big Santa kind of stuff, everybody ripping up the packages on Christmas morning. All my nieces and nephews on my mom's side of the family are adults. So, and same thing on my wife's family that's nearby. Her boys are adults. So there you go. Anyway, I'm going to talk about 3 main areas. And if you are listening to the show or whatever, like to drop in, pop in, throw in your opinion, it'd be great. Of course, I'm not entitled to your opinion. See, read the logo. But I'm going to talk about sports, politics, and the economy. And if you want to throw in anything else, then great. I don't know enough about culture and arts and music or whatever, what's going on these days. I'm still listening into, Bad Company. You ever heard of them? Tell me. Oh, see, this is what I'm talking about. He's shaking his head like, no Bad Company? Oh, come on. Boston?
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right. Or Thin Lizzy. How about them?
Heard of them, yes.
What's her best song? What do you think? I know you want to go there. Let's do the ads before I just throw my hands up in desperation. Anyway, thank you, Otto, over at our place. He's going to be on the show in about 3 weeks. I'm looking forward to that because he brings food when he comes on the show. And I haven't had him on the show in about 3 years because he's opened 2 restaurants in those 3 years. And that takes a lot of time. And we're going to talk about, running a restaurant and all that other business when we get to it. But our place is great. Now, I'm going to have to check my phone because I think all the restaurants he has will be closed on New Year's Day. But I want to make sure that that is the case. He says, we are closed, all the restaurants on New Year's Day. All right, so our place 2, and Gina's will be closed on New Year's Day, but not New Year's Eve. So get yourself some pizza. Hey, what you had to do, we'll go to Gina's and get you about 2 or 3 pizzas. And put a couple in the fridge and then heat them up for all the football games on Thursday. Do you have big plans for New Year's Day, or you sit around watching football all day?
Yeah, no plans at all.
No. Well, I'll be in Oklahoma watching football and eating brats. That's always fun. But anyway, so Ottawa will be closing the joints down for that one day, but they'll be open up Friday and they'll be open up Wednesday. Also, John Williams over at Old Pro Roofing, 817-734-2756. it's still time to get your roof inspected. It did turn off cold this morning, didn't it?
It did. I was surprised.
I like seasonal weather. It's supposed to be cold in December. 35, 40 degrees, that's appropriate. It's just weird when it's 80 degrees and whatnot. But anyway, John will come check your roof for free, and you need to have your roof checked because we can't count on the weather being like this all the time. We're going to have one of those episodes in February, and you need to know your roof is in shape, and you need to have it. I think it's good to have it inspected for insurance purposes as well. So 817-734-2756. And our friend Jeff Kelly over at the Wethington Agency here in town. He'll buy and sell real estate for you like nobody's business. 817-781-0546. I'm coughing. Try it again. 817-781-0546. Or at jeffkellyrealty.com. And he sells all over the county. And he's one of the best real estate agents in town. I'm really glad he's a sponsor because this is somebody that when I tell people who sponsors my show and I mention John and Jeff and Otto, they go, oh, I know these people, So it's a good thing, that they're well known in the community. But anyway, give them a holler if you're looking to buy or sell around here. Also, my buddy, Rich Hooper, 88.3 The Journey. It's getting the year end. This is a nonprofit, and I'm going to segue into the nonprofits in just a second, but this is a nonprofit. So if you're looking to donate for tax purposes or whatever purposes, this is a good one to donate to. There's a bunch of good ones to donate to. And I'll bring that up again at the end of the show about the nonprofits because, what is today? 29th. You have today, tomorrow, and Wednesday to get in the year-end donations. And I don't know if it'll affect your taxes or not, but who knows? But still, it's a good thing to do. It's kind of a good thing to do as like a post-Christmas gift, if you will. They'll be glad to take it. All right. Okay, Josh, what should I do first? Sports, politics, or the economy?
Let's hear sports.
Very good, because it's at the top of the list.
Fantastic.
All right. First of all, on the professional leagues, if anybody's expecting 2026 to be the breakout year for the Cowboys, keep drinking that eggnog, all right? How big a sports fan are you? Fair, middling, what? Hang on, here.
Mike's muted. I'll say fair.
Fair, okay.
I know enough about sports, but I'm not too crazy about it.
Well, you don't grind in all the details and stats, huh?
Not really.
Okay, well, anyway, I don't really get into the stats either because I think that stats just kind of cluttered it up. But
yeah, I know enough to be conversational.
Yeah.
That way.
So you know the Cowboys stink, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hear that from my dad every week.
Yeah. Well, the Cowboys are going to stink next year. That's an easy prediction. Why? Because Jerry Jones still owns the team. And God forbid something happens to Jerry. I'm not wishing any ill on him by any means. I don't hate Jerry. I just don't like what he does to the Cowboys. His son will take over, and he'll continue the epic mediocrity that is the Dallas Cowboys. Did you know? Here's a Trivial Pursuit question. It's well known, actually. The Cowboys haven't been to the NFC Championship game in 30 years. The next longest drought, if you will, of a team not being in the NFC Championship is the Chicago Bears. And they went 15 years ago. So the Cowboys double any other team in the NFC in terms of their absence from the NFC Championship game. That's amazing. I mean, you think of some of the crappy teams over the last 30 years that have made the NFC Championship game, even into the Super Bowl, and we can't get out of the first round of the playoffs if we make the playoffs at all. And it's just going to continue. I don't know what it is about the Jones management system or their drafting system or whatever else, but they're just stuck in mediocrity and will be probably the rest of my soon rapidly ending life. And it's like, and so when the Cowboys lose, I'm over it in 10 minutes. And if they win, I'm over it in 12 minutes. So it's not it just, they kind of beat the life out of me. When I was a kid and a young man, I followed the Cowboys pretty closely. Now, nah. My favorite professional team of all the local teams by far is the Rangers. So I'll go to them next. I like baseball anyway, which a lot of people don't for some reason. I bet people your generation, they don't follow baseball anywhere like I do. Do they?
No, I don't think so.
No, you follow the Rangers at all? Are you aware there is a Texas Ranger?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
I do like going to Rangers games.
Yeah, but nobody watches it on TV.
No.
I like it. But I'm an old man, so. And I've been going to the Ranger games. My first Ranger game, this will really date me, was 1973. And if you're a really big Ranger fan, you'll know what game I'm talking about when I say it was David Clyde's first game. But see, only people my age know what I'm talking about. David Clyde was like this superstar pitcher that they drafted right out of high school. And they put him, he went from pitching the state championship game to 3 weeks later pitching in a major league game. And they blew his arm out and it was whatever. But the Rangers will, my opinion, for this next year, they'll be competitive, but they're not going to go to the playoffs because they don't have enough hitting. And their main players get hurt too often. Corey Seager, I like him a lot. By all accounts, a very decent man, but he'll spend at least 6 weeks on the disabled list, or the injured list, as they call it. Evan Carter, their big star, he'll if he plays at all, he'll spend most of his time on the injured list. We'll have good pitching. We'll have a terrible bullpen, and we won't have enough hitting. We'll have good defense. And it's going to be kind of like more or less what you saw last season. But I really do enjoy the Rangers. I just wish their games are more available for most people. This idea of buying streaming and only every now and then catching a game if Fox puts them on is BS. I wish it was like before that I could get it all the time, but there you go. Mavs, they'll stink up the joint. They'll never get over that Luka Doncic trade. You're shaking your head, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
I know Cooper Flag is all that and a bag of donuts, but still, Luka Doncic, that trade is not just the trade that got sent in Los Angeles. We got basically a bag of beans in return. We got a draft pick 3 years from now, and we got Anthony Davis, who has to be the most fragile NBA player I've ever seen. He's on the disabled list now, and he spent most of last year on it. I mean, this guy is good for about 2 or 3 games, and then he gets hurt. Yeah, it's always something with him, a groin this time, or a calf, or a quad injury, or an abdominal injury is what got him out most of last year. He's just too fragile to play this game. And so that trade is going to haunt the Mavericks forever. And there's all these various stories as to why they traded Doncic. And the story that the Mavericks would want you to know is because he didn't take training seriously enough. He drank too much beer and all this other stuff. Who ever heard of a professional basketball player from Europe that drank beer? I've never heard of such a thing, right? Give me a break, So anyway, as far as the Stars, they're the only Dallas area team that's worth a hoot. I mean, they'll probably go to the Western Conference Finals. I don't know if they'll make the Stanley Cup Finals, but they're going to be a contender for one of the last 4 teams playing. Whatever the Stars do, I wish the other teams would follow, particularly the Cowboys, because every time the Stars, they have a down season or two, they seem to be able to pull themselves back up and have a good season or several. And it seems like whenever their best players are hurt, they got enough depth to overcome it. Whereas, forget it about the Mavericks, the Rangers, it's hard, because half their pitching staff is on the injured list at any given time. But as far as the Stars, they seem to have a system in which they can replace injured players. Plus, if they have a down year, they make the right moves, they draft the right players and whatnot, and within a couple of years, they're back into be highly competitive. They're in this century, they are the most probably consistently successful franchise in Dallas. Now, they haven't won a Stanley Cup. They've played for a couple. I think the Rangers, they played for 3 World Series and won one of them. Cowboys, we've already discussed. Mavericks is have played for 2 championships, won 1 in the century. But Cowboys, again, holy Toledo. As far as college sports, I could do a whole show on college sports. I mean, maybe I'd do that next time.
Why not?
Well, I will. Maybe in January, because it's a mess. It's a total stinking mess. Maybe during that transfer portal, I have an open date. Maybe I'll rant about that. And then my Fighting Baylor Bears just signed this guy for the basketball team that's got everybody worked up. That's
in a good way?
No.
Okay.
But it's within the rules. But that's what everybody's upset about is that it is within the rules. In effect, what Baylor has done is they signed a guy, he's 21, who played in the Spanish leagues, all right, as a young guy. And he was paid, which no longer is against the rules and hasn't been for a little while, but because of the NIL business. But what made this one even more so is this young man was drafted a couple of years ago by the Knicks. And he wasn't a first-round pick, which means there's only 2 rounds in the NBA draft, and if you're drafted in the first round, you're guaranteed a contract and a certain level of money. The second round, all bets are off. And so what happens quite often is teams will draft projects, and then they'll suggest or send them to the minor leagues, the G leagues, or they'll go play in France or whatever else, and they'll develop there. Well, this is what happened. The Knicks drafted this young man in the second round, so he never signed a contract with them, never played in the NBA, and he played overseas. And under the new rules of the NCAA, he's still eligible to play college basketball. Does that make sense?
Sort of, yeah.
Well, but the problem is that you're getting guys that are much more developed and whatever, and they're coming back to college. Now, my personal opinion is that all Baylor did was see the rules as they are, and they hit a home run with this guy apparently, and a lot of people are really upset by that. But as long as the rules going to allow formerly paid athletes. The only disqualifier now for the NCAA is to you sign an NBA contract. Even if you don't play in an NBA game, if you sign an NBA contract, you're out. He never signed a contract with the Knicks, so he's still eligible. Anyway, it's a mess, and the transfer portal is going to make it impossible for teams like North Texas to have the kind of team they had this year. After their bowl game, literally over a dozen to 15, I believe I read this morning, have entered the portal, including all their best players. So it's going to be impossible for a team like North Texas or Texas State or whatever to ever have a consistently competitive program, because if you're a really good wide receiver at Texas State, you'll get in the portal and go try to get in the Big 12. So that's about that. You want to talk about politics now? I know you love politics.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Obviously, this is an election year. My opinion is the Democrats are going to win a lot more votes in the House races than Republicans. However, since these districts are so heavily gerrymandered, it will only result in a small handful of gains for the Democrats. I do believe the Democrats will take over the House in the next election, and that's not a hard bar to clear. All I have to do is win 4 more races. That's it. And there's all these open seats and whatnot, and Trump's ratings are down and blah blah blah. I'm going to analyze that at a later date, but they only need to win 4, which they will. And so, and I believe the Democrats will narrowly take the House, and the Republicans will narrowly keep the Senate. And so, what that means for 27 and 28 is nothing. I mean, 2 years of nothing, right? And I promise you, if either party would rather have just one house, they definitely want the Senate, because you could do a lot more either to support or oppose the president from the Senate than you can from the House. Now, here's another thing, and this is an easy bet. I would bet by this time next year. I mean, the elections, of course, will be in 11 months, November 3rd, 4th, 5th. I don't know the date off the top of my head. Almost immediately after the elections are over and the House is gone Democrat, you're going to hear talk about impeaching Donald Trump again. What do you think of that? Is it really, it's a waste of time. All right.
Yeah, a bit of wishful thinking.
Well, it really doesn't make any sense, though, because it's not good politics in one sense, because Donald Trump will not be running in 28. And he knows that. If you read the stuff that talk about his comments off the record, he knows it. He just likes trolling people, putting stuff in the media about defying the 22nd Amendment and all this other stuff. He's not going to run again. And so there's no point in impeaching him because all you do is put J.D. Vance as president and you let him run for president as the incumbent. And that's not something that the Democrats want to see. So you're going to get people on the fringes of the Democrat Party, the AOC crowd, or the Elon Omar crowd, or Rashida Tlaib crowd, or Bernie Sanders, or whatever. They're going to be hollering for impeachment. Do they have grounds for it? It doesn't really matter. You know, impeachment doesn't necessarily mean the president broke the law. They could just impeach him because they think he's unfit. And there you go. But the House, I think, like I said, will go dim, and the Senate will narrowly remain Republican. Also, as far as the Texas Senate race, this one's giving me heartburn. Okay? Right now on the Democrat side for the primaries, which is the first Tuesday in November, so it's coming up really quick, right? We're talking about 2 months from now, roughly, or about 9 weeks from now, right? It's coming quick.
Did you say in November?
No, March. I meant
March. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you for
that's about 2 months from now.
Yeah. Thanks for the pickup. I meant first Tuesday in March. You got on the Democrat side James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. My opinion of Jasmine Crockett has already been stated on the show. She is one of the most ludicrous members of the House of Representatives there is, and that's saying something. We got some real losers in there, some real lunatics in there, and she's right there with them. Jasmine Crockett has no interest in being a representative of her district or representative of this state. She wants to be on The View. She wants to be on MS Now. She wants to be, bomb thrower on X. She wants to be the person with the hot sports opinion about everything, and she gets quoted often and all this. She has no interest in governing. James Tallarico is a state rep from the Austin area. And what I've seen from Tallarico is he's the pretty standard Democrat, but I like him certainly much more than Crockett. But I like Tallarico because he recognizes that that's a good way of putting this tactfully. A lot of the Democrats really keep at arm's length things of spiritual nature, spiritual conversations. He doesn't. He embraces it. And so I like him for the fact that he is openly Christian as opposed to, somebody that doesn't want to offend or whatever else, you want to say. Plus the fact is that, if you're thinking, well, he's going to be a right winger, by no means. He's a lay pastor of a Presbyterian church in the Austin area, and it's very socially liberal and all this other business. So if you're a Democrat, Tallarico is going to be a Democrat. You don't have to worry about him being too conservative because he's certainly nobody's idea of a conservative. But I like Tallarico because, first of all, he's not Crockett, and second of all, I do believe he has the desire to serve. And so if you are a Democrat and you vote in the primaries, that's who I'd pick. Now, on the Republican side, you have the incumbent, John Cornyn. You have Wesley Hunt from the Houston area. He's a congressman right now. He represents a district from the Houston area. And then you got the well-known Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is one of the most egregious figures ever to grace Texas politics. He spent 7 years under indictment for securities fraud, and the only reason he never went to trial is they kept delaying it over and over and over again until finally they settled. He was sued by members of his own staff. He was impeached by a heavily Republican House. And his wife is divorcing him on, quote, biblical grounds. You know what that means?
Infidelity?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. During the impeachment trial, his girlfriend was sitting out in the gallery waiting to be called because there was a possibility she was going to be called as a witness in the impeachment trial, and she never was because Dan Patrick organized that thing it was a charade. It was awful. But the point is, Ken Paxton has no business in public life, much less a U.S. senator. And my hope is that he gets beat in the primary thoroughly enough that we never see him again. It's incredibly ironic he's the Attorney General because he's broken laws, and the only reason he wasn't removed from office is because Paxton runs the Texas Senate with an iron hand. They acquitted Paxton on 8 charges, and all the Republicans in the Senate voted to acquit, and because Dan Patrick runs his state, and he definitely runs the Senate. So there you are. As far as Wesley Hunt, I don't know much about him. I've seen his ads. He's trying to put the MAGA hat on him and trying to be Mr. MAGA himself. So there you go. But I hope John Cornyn wins, not just the nomination, but the election. If he goes against Crockett, he'll win easily. If he goes against Talrico, he'll still probably win. I'm pretty sure. But my fear is that he won't survive the primary because of West Texas oil money is going to be supporting Ken Paxton big time. And, he's going to be covering himself with the MAGA routine and all this. My guess is on the Republican side, you'll probably end up with Cornyn and Paxton going to a runoff, which is in mid-April. And that's, when we get closer to the races, I'll be talking about that. My hope is that Cornyn beats Paxton in the primaries. Now, is John Cornyn some great senator? He's your standard Republican. He's old school Republican, just the usual. He's nothing. There's nothing significantly different about him that stands out. He is the number 2 guy in the Senate, so it's nice to have a Texan there. So there you go. As far as Abbott and Patrick, it's a foregone conclusion. I don't even know who's going to run against them. If Abbott wins, which I'm quite sure he will, he'll be the longest-serving governor in this state's history. And that's more than just a nice historical trivia question, because just about every appointed position right now has been appointed by Greg Abbott. And that's going to continue for another 4 years. You're talking about even if a Democrat somehow, some way won in November, it will take at least 4 years for that person, that Democrat, to have his or her people in a lot of decision-making capacities in our state government. So, and I don't know anybody's going to run against Patrick. It's going to be rough, to say the least. I'm getting a signal here. Josh, am I still on?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. I guess the closed caption is way behind, but it didn't matter. Also, here's another.
Oh, yeah, that'll happen on Facebook.
Here is a wild card. Here's a very big wild card. In early October, the Supreme Court heard a case about the use of race in drawing political districts, congressional districts and otherwise. If they decide before the primaries start, which who knows when the Supreme Court's going to make that ruling. They heard this case last April, and they kicked it to October for a decision. So it may be soon. I don't know. But if they say that race cannot be used in drawing congressional districts, I can't tell you how it's going to upset the apple cart. Because basically what you're going to do, particularly in the red states, you're going to have the ability to draw districts without considering the racial component of the district. And in the blue states, if they don't redraw the districts, they're going to get sued by Republicans. They maintain districts that are drawn partly on race. One of the most confusing things I teach in my constitutional law class is gerrymandering, because it's not unconstitutional to draw districts for political advantage, but it is if it disenfranchises or takes away the ability of minorities to have a say, right? What the Supreme Court may rule is that by distinguishing between voters by race is a violation of the 14th Amendment of equal protection under the law. And if they do that, that basically means what Texas did with the gerrymandering is going to be upheld easily. What California did would probably be sued by Republicans saying, hey, you used race as a deal and all this other stuff. And basically every district that's been drawn in any state you want to talk about has had that component within it. So you're talking about maybe all the states that may have to redraw their districts. if it is shown that race was in any way a factor in drawing those districts. So you're talking about total chaos. It may be that the Supreme Court may wait until all the nominations are over and then say this will apply in 2028. That's possible. You got a question? You look like,
No, sorry.
Okay.
Doing my own little research.
Oh, okay. Oh, about this case, really?
No. It was something we were talking about like 2 subjects ago. Keep going.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so that's a wild card. If the Supreme Court says no, the districts can maintain what they are, that race is a legitimate component, then nothing changes, really. It'll still be a mess. But this would make it such a mess that, in my experience, I really don't know anything that would really top it other than the original Voting Rights Act of 1965. So there you go. You want to talk about the economy?
Let's do it.
All right. My personal opinion is we're not going to have a massive recession, nor are we going to have a massive boom either. We're going to be middling along. The tariffs are going to be an anchor on the economy. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the third quarter GDP measurements came out, and it was one of the best GDP quarters we've had in a long, long time. And real growth, like 4.3%, I believe that was the number. Overall, this year is probably going to have about around mid-2s because the first quarter was pretty poor. Now, here's the thing about all these stats. There was a really good article. I recommend this to y'all. There was an article on Christmas Day, I believe, or day after, on the Washington Post that had like 10 stats that talk about the status of the economy. And, of course, it's good and bad and different, and whatever stuff. Unemployment's a little high. Inflation actually dropped unexpectedly a little bit. The GDP, like I mentioned, the stock market's blowing up. And so people take this as evidence that the Trump economy is working. Really, when it boils down to, does the economy work or not, is a personal thing. If you're out of a job, it didn't matter what your GDP is. Now, if you have a job and you're making decent money, you're still having to deal with inflation. And the Democrats want to make affordability their main issue in the next election. That's going to be a real hard sell because a lot of this is residual from the Biden years, that 9% plus we had for a while. So that's going to be a real hard sell. But anyway, the point is that I don't expect the economy to crash, but I don't expect it to solve problems. And these tariffs, they also have been inspected by the Supreme Court. And from all indications, they're going to strike them down as an unconstitutional use of tax powers. If they do that, we have collected like $120 billion in tariffs. What's going to happen to that money? Well, Trump has already said that they're going to send active service members $1,776 as a service bonus. Okay, that's great. And they're talking about $2,000 per taxpayer in refunds. We'll see what happens. I mean, if this tariff is unconstitutional and your company was impacted by it, you want your money back. And how are you going to do that? There's going to be multiple lawsuits and all this other stuff if they strike it down. And the thing is, the Supreme Court watchers, when they watch this stuff, they listen to the questions that are being asked by the justices, and they take that as an indication of what their thinking is. And they said, it looks like it's going to get struck down. I am on the record multiple times saying I'm not a big fan of the tariffs at all. My biggest problem with the tariffs, besides the impact it's having on the economy, which I think is like an anchor to it, is that it's not really doing its objective. We lost more manufacturing jobs this year. We lost like 50,000 manufacturing jobs. And that was one of the, supposed reasons for the tariff. Plus the fact is that it does cost people more. Plus the fact is it is a tax that is not applied by Congress. Plus the fact that the tariffs hurt the poorest the most. Okay. And so I don't like any of it. But my biggest problem with is, Trump's arbitrary use of the tariff. I woke up this morning pissed at Brazil, so there's a tax. I don't like that commercial Canada ran. There's a tariff. I'm upset with what's going on in another country and how they're dealing with their own internal business. There's a tariff. This arbitrary wave of the hand routine is rubbish. And if these tariffs were to be, in my opinion, constitutional and supportable or whatever, Congress needs to pass them. And if they pass them, then we have another debate. Are they good or not, or smart or not? But right now, I think they're unsupportable in the Constitution. But I've had several other people tell me I'm wrong, but what do they know? Get their own podcast. Anyway, here's something that really is causing the market to blow up is the tremendous amount of investment in artificial intelligence. Now, this is getting more into your area, Josh, right? The AI business.
Yep.
I don't know a lot about the AI, but I know that they're spending tens to hundreds of billions of dollars in investment. And it's controversial, not just what the impact of AI is, but what it can do, right? And I read all sorts of stuff about, the benefits of AI or the potential evils of AI. But what really right now, the big economic deal is that's what's driving the stock market up is these companies that are in AI, their stock values are going through the roof. And so it's pulling up the Dow Jones, NASDAQ, et cetera. But the problem also is these AI centers are a major environmental issue, right?
Oh, yeah.
What exactly? You know much about this? I mean, I know it's really hard on the grid and the water systems, but I'm not really sure I know why.
Yes, grid and water systems, specifically water, because think of like a big computer server room. Those things get hot, and you need to cool them off somehow. So I'll have to look up the actual number, but it's in the, I want to say it's in the thousands of gallons of water per server center, and there's however many in the U.S. a day.
Yeah, right. And like I see these commercials, like there's one talking about how my little town in Iowa was dying until this AI center showed up, and now all these young people have jobs and all this. I'm thinking, how much of that water and whatnot are they taking from the Iowa farmers?
Oh, yeah.
But they're not going to tell you that in the commercial, of course.
No.
But the point is that it really is impacting the communities. I remember, I don't know if it's happened yet, but about 3 years ago, there was going to be one of those crypto mining companies opening up near Corsicana, near my parents. And that's the same issues, right? Tremendous drain on the grid and the water and all that. And people were protesting this. But the problem was it was not in the city of Corsicana. It was out in the country a little bit. But it'd be drawing a lot of water from the Corsicana facilities. And so it was a real big deal. I don't know if they've continued to build that, but I know that was for several months the main issue in Corsicana. And some of these systems, Texas is going to be a prime location for this because we are, very, very business friendly. And so you're going to have a situation where some of these grids are going to be opening up, and, water already is a big issue in keeping the suburbs growth occupied, so to speak. I mean, the Dallas-Fort suburb area and the Austin area and San Antonio and Houston, those areas are blowing up, particularly DFW. And so all those suburbs need water. And if you tack on some major AI centers, that's going to be a real problem. So as far as the good and the bad of AI, that may be a show to do at another time when I'm more educated on it, or get somebody that knows what they're talking about. You know what you're talking about on AI?
Not as much as I should, and also more than I want to.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Well, maybe we'll get, I understand that we have a partner in the studio, Taylor. Remember him? Yeah, he just shows up every now and then.
Taylor who?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe he knows something about it. I'll get him on as a guest. That'd be interesting.
I'm sure you would.
But we could talk about that. But that is going to be the big issue in 2026 is artificial intelligence.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Well, when AI already is very commonly used. If you get on Google and say, ask a question, what AI is doing is scanning all the potential answers and putting them in a concise couple of paragraphs, right? But here's the problem with AI. Some of the insurance companies want to use AI to determine whether or not your coverage will cover this particular thing or not, as opposed to having a human being make that choice. And that's one of the reasons why United Healthcare is so controversial, because they've already embraced AI. So basically, when you make a submission, it's going to be AI deciding yes or no, what is this? I mean, it seems like every year we get closer and closer to the Terminator. That's the scenario in the Terminator, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Skynet and, and Arnold and all that. You watch those movies?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like the third one. I thought that was fun. But it's fun. It's just that it seems like every year we get closer to something like that. And that's why I get a little concerned about AI and the stress it puts on the local communities. And, and the thing about it is the approach to it is not to prevent its growth, because that's not going to happen. It's going to happen. If we don't do it here, it'll be done in China. And it is being done in China. But we got to find a way that it's not going to be such an impact on the local community. And we got to find a way that it is not going to be such a dominant factor in our lives that we really have lost human agency and decision making and whatnot. Now, also,
really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did find a good article here.
Okay, good.
This is from the UN Environmental Program.
Ah, yes.
Mostly saying that, if I can pull this up.
Mm-hmm.
There you go, near the top.
Yeah.
Making a 2-kilogram computer for AI requires about 800 kilograms of raw materials, which we don't really know where or how those are being mined.
Those
mostly
rare earth materials, you mean?
Rare earth materials.
Right.
That third point down there, data centers use water. Globally, AI-related infrastructure may soon consume 6 times more water than the entire country of Denmark.
That's a lot.
That is quite a bit, yes.
Oh my. So, I don't know a lot about these, mechanical or technical issues, but that's got to be a problem. If you're going to use 6 times what Denmark uses, what's Johnson County going to do? They put some AI center, south of Cleveland and whatever else. What are you going to do?
Exactly.
Is Bethesda Water going to be able to manage that? I doubt it. And so, and it'll certainly impact everybody else. And so that. I'm glad you pulled it up. Thank you. It's a good point. I think that is going to be the dominant issue, and it's going to really make billions of dollars in profits for a lot of companies that are on the cutting edge of this. And it's going to probably push the Dow Jones past 50,000, which is incomprehensible to us old folks, because, back in the day when the Dow Jones was like, in the low thousands or whatever, that was common, and now 50,000. I mean, the amount of money one would have made if you'd invested about 15 years ago when we had that stock market meltdown during the, the financial crisis of 2009, 10, 11, you'd be making a lot of money right now. People with 401ks are making money, or with IRAs are making money. As far as the working class, so to speak, that's a separate issue, because you think, wow, they're making $15 an hour. In my day, $15 an hour, you're doing really good. Back in the 80s, early 80s, mid 80s, you're making $15 an hour. You're Rockefeller. Now you're barely making it. And that's a lot different deal. And this kind of segues into what I was going to talk about at the end, which is the nonprofits. You read all this data and you read all this stuff in the paper, and you hear all this money being made and whatnot. It's not seeping down to a lot of the other people that need it as much. This trickle-down theory has a lot of flaws to it, okay? I understand in theory what the trickle-down means, but if you don't have a way to make it so, then it's not going to happen. And what I mean by that is, if you're at the top, unless you're an extraordinary generous person, you're going to keep the money you make, and it's not going to trickle down to the lower masses, right? There needs to be a way to make it and incentivize trickling down. Now, some people are. I mean, yeah, and a lot of people have benefited from business expansion, whatever else. But the idea that it's an automatic thing is not true. Now, back in the 80s, Reagan, used that, and I love Reagan. But I disagree with the idea that just by natural impulse the money's going to trickle down. How would you cause it to trickle down? Through tax policy, maybe, that kind of thing. So I think the supply side theory has its values, but it's not going to operate on its own. And you need to incentivize people to have that money trickle down, not just have it stay up at the top. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and again, I'm not trying to be harsh on Reagan. I love Reagan. I have many books on Reagan. And people that know me know that he's probably my favorite president, which a lot of people look at me like I'm crazy, but then that's not the first time. But the point I'm making with all of this is that you may read this in the paper and think, well, everybody must be doing okay, and they're not. This is a record year for all our nonprofits in terms of demand. The three main food pantries I talked to, Elizabeth Becker over at House of Hope here in town, here in Crowley, Promises, and Harvest House in Burleson, said they were inundated with requests, particularly obviously for food, but also for financial assistance. Because you have a situation where car repairs, for example, are extraordinarily expensive now. And here you are, and basically you're a one-car family, and the car breaks down. It's going to take several hundred, if not a couple of $1,000s, for repair that maybe 3 or 4 years ago would be about half that. And so what they say, what the nonprofit people tell me, is that they're getting people to have jobs, but they can't afford the rent, which is also going through the roof. And so that's why I always take all these stats with a big grain of salt, because on the ground, if these gains aren't being felt by people on the ground, what good are they? I don't care what the GDP did. I don't have a job. I don't care what the GDP did. My insurance stinks. All right. Now, that's another question for another day about health insurance, because that's going to be an issue for a lot of people. And people think, well, I got insurance and all this other stuff, and I'm good to go. Well, you see what happens next year when it comes to deductibles and co-pays and whatever else. I'm also, I just think about those people that Promises in particular. That's the one I'm probably closest to. And I go in there, because my wife and I have made that commitment to them for that particular institution. And we go in there, and I look at the people, and they're not a bunch of derelicts, and they're not a bunch of homeless or under the bridge types. They are moms with a couple of kids. All right. And so, and they tell me, the people that work at Promises says, well, no, she works at this place or that place. But, that, they just, what they're making isn't enough, or it's not enough to cushion them against a certain bump in the road. They tell me in the summertime, they get a lot of people requesting utilities. Even if they're not really running the air conditioner all the time, the utilities go way up, and they can't afford a $450 electric bill, et cetera, et cetera. So my challenge, if you will, charge for y'all is make 2026 a year of intent to give to the nonprofits of your choice. Okay? If you say, well, I'm already doing X or Y, well, great, do X and Y. All right, if you have the ability, you need to do it. It says in the book of James, "To much is given, much is expected." And so, therefore, remember that, in your giving to these nonprofits, whether it be the food pantries, whether it be Next Step, whether it be Wings of Hope, whether it be the Center for ASD, which I'll have on the show on the 15th, by the way, whether it be Crazy Eights, whether it be your local charity of your choice. I hope I mentioned everybody. Remember, the services they provide depend on you, period. And so my challenge for my vast listening audience is make it a year of intent when it comes to the nonprofits. And, I guess that's what a community does. All right. Plus the fact that we can't let politicians so sand in their eyes and they tell you everything is wonderful or everything is terrible, because usually the truth lies in between. But there are a lot of people that need our help. So if you're not consistently giving, make that your New Year's resolution. If you are giving, God bless you, and He will. Okay? Maybe not in the way you think He will, but He will. But that's it for 2025. What do you think, bud?
Really succinct.
Yeah, well.
Yeah,
well, what can I say? Let's see what the schedule is, though, for next week. We're not going to have a show the rest of this year, of course, like I've been mentioning. Anyway, doggone it. Somebody texted me. We got health issues in my family, and somebody texted during the show, so I'll deal with that at the end of the show. Where is my
Everything
calendar?
okay?
My mom's still sick.
Okay.
And so we're kind of, my sister and I and my wife and my brother-in-law, the four of us, are like tag teaming about taking care of her.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because she's up there in age.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just got a message. No, but she's having, she's 83. What can you say? Okay, what do we got in January? Okay, on the 5th, we have Melissa and Candace from the Chamber of Commerce. They got a lot going on. They got an event on the 15th of January, and their big one at the end of February, their showcase. That's one of the best things they do. I look forward to that every year. It's a great way to get your business out there, and it's a great way for you to find out about other businesses. And there's always, always, always food available. I mean, food trucks, etc. And it's going to be a Pathway, I'm pretty sure. I don't have the details in front of me, but it's where it's been the last 3 years, and I don't think that would change. Also, I'll have Victoria on next week on the 8th, Thursday. The big deal is about the water drainage, storm drainage fee going on. I don't know all the details, but I do know that the city wants to, or feels like they need to, assess a little extra fee to help deal with the water storm drainage. And I don't doubt that to be true. I'm sure it is. It's very expensive, and they're needing to find revenue to be able to afford water drainage. So Victoria's going to come in and explain all that, whatever it is. And I'm sure if you want to contact your city council people, that's a good idea, because this, they took some criticism about, raising the fees and all this other stuff. But, on the other hand, we can't allow our water situation, our drainage situation to go unfixed, because it's just going to be worse and worse. Sherry Scott was on the show earlier. I mean, as a watcher, I hope Larry's doing well. I hope Larry has a good 2026. Oh, by the way, speaking of 2026, I'll end with this. Beginning next month, you'll be able to sign up for various races here in the county, particularly Burleson, and the two school districts that I really deal with, Burleson and Joshua. And I know in Burleson, there's going to be 4 city council spots open, including the mayor. And he'll be on in January. We're just trying to find a date. We're playing a lot of phone tag. There's going to be 3 spots on the school board. If you want to be on the show as a candidate, there's a spot for you. Now, I do have one caveat, and I put this in a posting yesterday. I'm not going to have just people I am voting for. I'm going to have people that I could vote for. If we have 2 people in a race and I only have 1 vote, somebody is going to be left out. But if we have 2 quality candidates for one of the school board positions, they're both going to have a seat, and they'll both be treated equally and fairly. If we have 2 candidates for mayor, I know the mayor, Fletcher, has already said on the show he is running for a 3rd term, and if he gets a quality opponent, Mr. Fletcher is more than glad not just to meet that opponent, but he understands. He has no problem with him being on my show or her being on my show. The caveat is, if I think, in my opinion, this candidate is out for personal gain, or personal gain with just he or she and a few favorites, find yourself another podcast. I don't feel obligated to give every candidate airtime just because they put their name on the ballot. But I just want to make it clear that, if I have 3 candidates for a position, all 3 candidates, if their agendas are legitimate I don't even if I don't have to agree with the agenda, as long as it's a legitimate agenda. Say that fast. As long as it's a person that I think is in it for the right reasons, even if I don't agree with all the positions he or she may take. If they're really doing it for community or school benefit, they have a seat, and that's it. I mean, I've been accused of picking favorites. Well, yeah, I have friendships with some people on the board and on city council. You know, I'm very good friends with Victoria, but if she had an opponent, which she did the last race, her opponent had 2 appearances on this show, Mr. McNally. Okay, So I'm just saying, if you're considering to run or you're about to sign up and you want a spot on the show, let's visit. And we'll find a time. Okay, anything else, bud?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, I am going to now say goodbye for y'all for 2025 and good riddance. It was a tough year for a lot of people.
Yeah, you're telling me.
You know, it's interesting. Is it going to be better Monday or whatever, or Friday, January 2nd? I mean, does this magical thing happen on New Year's Eve that the next year is, that year's behind me, so all the problems of 25 are gone? I'd always thought that was kind of some sort of magical thing, magical thinking.
Honestly, I hope so at this point.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Oh, I don't have any more debt. All right. All right.
Yay, no more car crashes.
Yeah. You've had a few of those, haven't you? There
2 this year, yeah.
We'll learn how to drive.
It wasn't me, okay?
Hey, don't drive and text, bro.
How about I just don't drive anymore? That would fix it.
All right, well, thank you for what you've done, Josh. You really made the show possible, and I appreciate that very much. And so, everybody, y'all have a good 2026, and I'll see you Monday.